Hello everybody, I'm Ritvik, and today I'm going to talk about some of my favorite things to do when I'm bored. Before we get started though, I'm going to need you all to read through these terms and conditions. Give you a moment. Assuming you all are incredibly fast readers and totally read through all of that, let's move on. So my favorite things to do, I like to run, and I absolutely love to bake. I'm going to show you one of my favorite recipes to bake. Now you may be saying, or thinking to yourself, that this is just the terms and conditions of a streaming subscription service. And if you're thinking that, you're thinking right. It is. But it's also a recipe for a chocolate cake. A very, very good chocolate cake that I highly recommend you all bake. One day when I was insanely bored, out of my mind, I decided to peruse the terms and conditions for Peacock. And in doing so, I was very nicely surprised by this recipe for a chocolate cake. That was a really, really nice surprise. But imagine if the surprise was instead a $700 bill. That would absolutely suck, right? Let's keep that in mind. One summer, I worked in an endocrinologist's office, and throughout my time there, we saw a lot of patients that had palpable nodules, which I could touch and feel on their thyroids. Going through that summer and finishing it up, I realized, I feel like I also have a lump on my neck, and I can touch and feel it. I may need to get it checked out. What's crazy though is that 7 years I've known that I've had that on my neck. But Ritvik of the past thought that, you know what, I don't have money to go see a doctor right now. Let me ask my voice lesson teacher at that time, who I went to, and she promptly was like, it's your tongue? Clearly, Ritvik of the past thought that was an acceptable answer from somebody who had no standing to comment on a health issue whatsoever. Ritvik of the present was like, oh my god, what was I doing? I need to get this checked out right now. So, me at the ripe old age of 20, going to my pediatrician, I showed up and I said, hey, what can I do about this? So I was handed a referral for some testing, cool, and alongside it, a bill for $700, and that's with insurance. Not thrilled with the idea of having to pay $700 for variables in my neck. I freaked out. I was spiraling, and I enlisted my entire family to go around and ask all our acquaintances. I had them Googling all over the internet, and I was like calling the insurance company, be like, yo, what are you doing? Let me get tested. Reprieve though came from a family friend who actually was a doctor, and that family friend referred us to a website that was a database for free and cheap testing sites that you could use even if you didn't have insurance. That was called Radiology Assist. Very pretty website, right? A couple years ago, it was very much not. When I attempted to access the website, my phone screamed at me saying that I was having my information hacked and stolen, and I need to get off this website immediately. I ignored that and instead decided to go ahead and continue on the website and make an appointment. I made an appointment, and God bless, I was able to get an ultrasound. The results of the ultrasound came through, and it was simply just a lipoma, which is a benign mass of fat cells in my neck. Disaster averted, and no loss of $700. I got to thinking though, this is a little crazy. Like, how come I had to go through all of these steps to be able to get a test that shouldn't be so expensive? And what would I do if I didn't know somebody who was a doctor? And we're all here in this room as adults, right? But what if I was senile or even a baby? So, humor me with this. Imagine you are all babies. And this is the day you're being born, and as the doctor pulls you out of the womb, you're handed a terms and conditions packet. What are the odds of reading that? Slim to none, right? Yeah. So, as ridiculous as it sounds to expect a baby to read that, by being born into this society, we are accepting the terms and conditions of how our life can be. And that includes our family, our surroundings, and our health and how it's cared for. Scary stuff, right? If you ask me now if I would accept the terms and conditions for how our healthcare system is today, I would definitely have some pause. And let's not forget about the surprises that we saw in Peacock's terms and descriptions. That was a nice one, but most of the time, surprises in healthcare are absolutely terrible. We're talking surprise denials, surprise delays, and surprise complications. None of those I want to receive ever. So, what are we supposed to do? one thing you can do is go ahead and try to reach out to your doctor and advocate for yourself, okay? That's the biggest thing that you can do. But a lot of Americans are scared to do so. 61% of Americans say they only seek health care when they're sick, and 44% of adults have skipped or delayed care in the past 2 years. And it's very understandable that a lot of Americans feel this way. They very much struggle with being able to talk to a doctor and everything like that. So we have to figure out how can we best, move on and be able to get the care that we need. One way is to read the terms and conditions of our healthcare system and find the loopholes like radiology assist. That was one example. Another one could be checking to see if your insurance gives you fitness membership discounts, or checking to see if an alternative drug is covered more by your insurance. While these are all great ideas, they're often very time consuming and often have you running into a brick wall with no answers. Instead, one option is you can be insanely rich, have all the money in the world, you're set. Terms and conditions may apply to you in healthcare, but if you're rich, don't even worry about it. Now, that's obviously not true, and it turns out many of the troubles that are plaguing our healthcare system today affect everybody in our society, including those from all socioeconomic backgrounds. What we can actually do, though, is make sure that our voices are heard. If you know something is unwell with you, like Ritvik from 7 years ago, go to the doctor. Make sure that you say, and make sure that the doctor listens to what you feel is wrong, okay? And it's not just our doctors that are like the big bad guys. They are also stuck in this really, really messed up system. A lot of doctors are overburdened and tired. 68% of Americans are concerned that healthcare workforce shortages will impact them as a patient and their family and their loved ones. And 66% of them feel that healthcare providers seem more rushed than they've been in the past, and half of adults think their healthcare providers appear to be burned out or overburdened. When our doctors and nurses go on strike, we have to be there to support them. Okay, we have to make sure that they're encouraged to fight for their own workers' rights. Further, when we have local elections, we need to make sure that we're not only participating, but we're advocating and encouraging others to do so. Local elections are the reason that a lot of health services that we receive in New York City are actually protected, and that we continue to receive them when a lot of them have been rescinded in large swaths of the country. Because we voted in these elections here in the city, we've been able to protect a lot of these and continue to have access to them. Very, very, very important. So, this is why I personally want to go into healthcare and induce systemic change from the inside. However, you all do not have to go into healthcare to make a difference in other people's lives. One semester, I was studying abroad in London, and I worked in a support role for other students from NYU studying abroad. And a lot of it involved me doing programming. But one thing I made sure to do was champion accessibility in all the programs that I did. And that was definitely difficult in a 1,000-year-old city that was very much not set up for accessibility. So I couldn't just go around and make little adjustments or attempt to slap a band-aid on something and be like, there you go, that's accessible. I made sure to go the extra mile in my situation to ensure all Americans with Disability Act protocols are in place, and that all programming and events came from an idea and mindset of inclusive ideology. And that included making sure that all people with accessibility needs and different varying identities were able to participate and gain a strong benefit from participating in these events. By making sure that we advocate for others and ourselves in healthcare settings, by protecting the rights of our healthcare workers so that they can better care for us, and by realizing and understanding and putting to use the impact that we can have in our own communities, even if we're not tied in healthcare, we can make sure that we're putting to work not only prevention health for all of us, but also making sure the healthcare system becomes a better place for everybody in our society. Together, and only together, can we rewrite the terms and conditions of